Okay, hello. Oh, it's raining here, so I'm like so hard to wake up in the morning. Yeah, we're here with another 10 poems. And it's quite cool because we'll be finishing um this genre, the 5 character regular verse, and then we'll be in the final genre of the book. So this one, I mean, because we started long ago with these, right? Eh? These 5 character quatrains. And we started from here, and that's why we're sort of looped back. And we'll be finishing here with these 7 character regular verse or regulated verse. With that, yeah, so we should be finishing that in under a week. Pretty exciting, I think. Uh Also quite crazy. I guess we're finishing more than it's like a quarter of the book in a week. So I could have done this all in 1 month, but would have been a very busy month. Okay, so when we start with this? So 张桥 on the border or 书边市. Oh, people are here. So let me just say hi. So let's start with this 书边市. So I think this is 吊脚断清秋，征人疑戍楼。春风对青冢，白日落凉州。大漠无兵卒，穷边有客游。凡情似此水，长愿向南流。Though a bugle breaks the crystal air of autumn, soldiers in the lookout watch at ease today. The spring wind blowing across green graves, and the pale sun setting beyond Liangzhou. For now, on grey plains done with war, the border is open to travel again, and Tartars can no more choose than rivers. They are running, all of them, toward the south. Okay, so this is another classic border poem where as you may know, it's during that time the Tang dynasty had a really weak border in the north, right? Well, not weak, but that's like the biggest weak point. So a lot of troops were deployed there really to defend against foreign invaders. So even within these 300 poems, we've seen like a lot of poems just about defending the border because it's like so important. Yeah. And so let's see what's the context for this. Okay. It seems like the foreigners stop trying to invade. That's what I'm getting here. But I don't really understand because if the border's in the north, then why would they run toward the south? Doesn't make sense, right? Because south of China, it's just, I mean, there's nothing there, right? At least modern China, right? So, this is, it looks like they sort of returned it, right? Is it the land? Entirely returned to the Tang Dynasty. And so, oh, okay, sorry. This is in the west. Okay, because this is the Silk Road. So then usually the central part of China is like it's kind of like a circle, right? But then they at least in the Tang Dynasty, their territory stretch out to the west because they control a lot of the Silk Road. So that's where this is actually happening. Okay, so this in the west. Uh, right. So that makes sense to me now. And so this is like the Tartars sort of stop trying to invade, stop trying to attack, and it's a cause for celebration now for, I guess, the Chinese. Okay, so let's look through it line by line. Though a bugle breaks like the crystal air of autumn, soldiers in the lookout watch at ease today. The spring wind blowing across green graves, and the pale sun setting beyond Liangzhou. Okay, so it's just so even though there's like the daily bugle, that isn't that from Spider-Man, the Daily Bugle. But yeah, there's this regular, I guess, instrument that's being blown, but the guards, they're kind of chill and just yeah, things look pretty good. There's a spring wind blowing across the green graves. Well, I guess that sort of reminds you of, all the human lives that were lost, just protecting this place, right? So much blood was shed to protect this like important, this strategically important location. But then after that, and the pale sun setting beyond Liangzhou, I guess it's sort of over symbolically, the sun setting. Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much, but anyway, there are graves, so it was not there was quite a bit of fighting going on now. Yeah. And then from that for now, on Grey Plains done with war, uh here it says there's no soldiers obstructing, right? The border is open to travel again, and Tartars can no more choose rivers. They're all running, all of them towards the south. Literally, it says the Tartars, they're yeah, I guess this is just their name. So Tartars, their feelings are like this water. It naturally wishes to flow toward the south. Yeah. I like this last two lines. I think it's a very classic poetic image of the river, the water flowing, and then I thought it's very interesting that they sort of now they're using it towards their enemies because usually it's like used towards themselves, right? I think it helps to sort of humanize them. It's like saying they're also like us, and I guess they're also happy that there's peace. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that they use this because it's just yeah, like it's weird, right? Like here, the Tatars, their feelings are like this water. Like usually you don't emphasize how your like enemy feels unless it's to make them like villains. So but you're really he's really humanizing them, and I guess maybe even emphasizing that it was the situation that was bad, not like the people that are bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm over over what do you say? Overreading. Yeah. And then you point out, just looking at the comments, you said part five or part of 20 chapter 25 of the Lotus Sutra contains sets of 5 characters. So yeah, the Lotus Sutra has a lot of parts that are in verse. So it really is just like this. It's just if you read it, the English version, you'll be like, he'll say something and then he'll be like, let me repeat that, but in a poem. So that's where that's probably coming from. Yeah. Okay. So why don't we look at the famous critics for this? Oh, it's not a lot. Just says hmm, interesting. So there's this person, I guess 于碧云. So that it sort of transitions from close to far. So it's almost like, so you start from within the camp and then sort of looking out towards the green graves and then the desert itself. And then beyond that, is there enemies far away? So it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just sort of expanding your consideration, I guess, just from the near to the far. I think that's pretty cool. Good observation there. Then, yeah, I guess that's it for this. So why don't we move on to 翠图 on New Year's Eve. 巴山道中拔叶有怀啊，迢递38路，积微万里深，乱山残雪夜。孤独异乡春，见于骨肉人，转于红蒲青。那堪正漂泊，明日醉华新。Farther and farther from the 3 bar roads, I have come 3,000 miles, anxious and watchful, through pale snow patches in the jagged night mountains, a stranger with a lonely lantern shaken in the wind. Separation from my kin binds me closer to my servants, yet how I dread, so far adrift, New Year's Day tomorrow. So New Year, okay, so 除夜 is 除夕夜, so New Year's Eve, right? Literally it's like in the road of Bashan, of Ba Mountain, during New Year's Eve, I have some feelings. Okay, interesting. So farther and farther, actually look at the context first. So what is this Ba Mountain and what is the context? Oh, there's not much here. Okay. Oh, damn. There's not much here, so I guess we'll have to go with the text. Well, for some reason, he's traveling during this time, which is kind of weird, right? Because usually, like everyone like makes it a point to go home during New Year. So sounds like something must have gone wrong for him to still be traveling at this time. Okay, so farther and farther from the 3 bar roads, so the 3 roads of Ba Mountain, I have come 3,000 miles, anxious and watchful, through pale snow patches in the jagged night mountains. A stranger with a lonely lantern shaken in the wind. Okay, so it's weird because he makes himself sound like he's alone, but later he says like actually his servants are with him. So I thought it's kind of weird. Yeah, huh. But I guess you can be a few people still feel like very alone in the vast mountain. Okay, so next, separation from my kin binds me closer to my servants. Yet how I dread so far adrift, New Year's Day tomorrow. Mm. So, so here when he says kin, the what's said here is 骨肉, which is like your bone and meat. So that does also mean like family, but it means a very close family, right? Yeah. And yeah, so separation, you're separated from that. Probably like your kids actually, when you say 骨肉. But okay, it just means generally those with blood relations. But this phrasing, I think it really emphasizes the difference between the kin, his family, and his servants, right? Okay. Oh, okay. And then next, yet how I dread so far adrift, New Year's Day tomorrow morning. So you point out you were wondering what the new year brings for him, right? So and so you commented like, oh, pointing out the near to the far adds to your appreciation of the poem. Yeah, me too. It was a good comment from the guy from the Wikipedia. But for New Year, right, in Chinese culture, I think it's kind of like Christmas and Thanksgiving all combined into one. So it's like the biggest deal, at least nowadays, right? That's how we think about it. So it's like, we're all supposed to, the whole family's supposed to gather and celebrate. And I think that's why it really sucks for him that he's in the middle of nowhere, like freezing. Uh, yeah. And nothing against his servants, but it's not his family, right? So yeah, I think it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Yeah. I wonder, oh, there aren't any comments, like famous critics comments here. So let's read a bit more, see if we notice anything interesting here. But yeah, just the overall situation is pretty rough. Hmm. The second last line, nah. I think it should be nah. So how? There should be another 口 here in like modern Mandarin. So 哪堪正漂泊. So how can I endure? I think just 正. So it's the first month of the year. So how can I endure drifting, wandering in the first month of the year? Because tomorrow morning the age renews itself. So it's a brand new year. Dang. I guess then you were also when you were saying like the significance of the new year. I guess this maybe it even says it's symbolic, right? If the new year is like a renewal of the age, then maybe it's kind of inauspicious that he's missing out on that. Because he seems to be emphasizing like this, I don't know, almost like cosmic dimension of the new year. Like the age is renewing. I don't know. I don't find that very relatable though. Like, so I would just read it as like a missing his family. Yeah. I think it'd be kind of weird if mm, it's just like mystic, some mystical significance. Like it's not super relatable if you're not from the same context. Yeah. And you say, I guess he dreads it because his kin won't be there. Yes. Yeah. So I do think so. Yeah. Okay. Then maybe we can move to the next one. Oh, also by this guy, right? 翠图. Gu Yan, a solitary wild goose. 几行归色尽，片影独何之？暮日相呼失，寒塘日下迟。主云低暗度，观月冷相随。未必逢增角，故非自可疑。Line after line has flown back over the border. Where are you headed all by yourself? In the evening rain you call to them, and slowly you alight on an icy pond. The low wet clouds move faster than you along the wall toward the cold moon. If they caught you in a net or with a shot, would it be worse than flying alone? Wow. Hmm. Wow, that's kind of sad. I mean, so it's about, oh, it's actually a part of two poems. I think we're reading the second one. There's only the second one is in the collection. So, uh, yeah. And I think that's the more famous one. You see, the only the second one has like all these comments, whereas the first one has like nothing. So yeah. Now we know, okay, it's about a solitary wild goose, and it goes. Line after line has flown back over the border. Where are you? Headed all by yourself. Hmm. In the evening rain, you call to them, and slowly you alight on an icy pond. Wow, that's so sad. It's like, oof, it's kind of scary, yeah. Like you're flying alone. The low wet clouds move faster than you, along the wall toward the cold moon. If they caught you in a net or with a shot, I don't think this last line is quite right. She, I think it's like flying alone is naturally suspicious, naturally suspect, naturally dangerous, I suppose. Yeah. So is this so so the line seven should be, I think it's you won't necessarily, will not necessarily be caught with these things, but flying alone is naturally suspicious. Yeah. Maybe I'm just reading this after we read this previous poem where he's like, oh, I'm alone on New Year. So now I can't help but feel like he's talking about himself when he's talking about this goose. Yeah. But it's also interesting because in the end he sort of, instead of emphasizing like the loneliness, I guess he's emphasizing like the danger of being alone. Which, I mean, it is true, but I wonder like why would he emphasize this aspect of? Yeah. Hmm. Let's see. Or maybe I'm misreading this 可疑, right? Maybe the E it just means to worry. So flying alone naturally makes one worry. Hmm. Right. You say that I think being shot would be worse than flying alone, or would it? I think being shot is worse. I would, you know, at least for me, I would much rather not be shot. I would rather be lonely than shot. Yeah. I mean, those birds, yeah, I think they would think so too. You see, I see you also say that there's a lot of contrast between being alone and being with their friends. Yeah. I think that's very interesting because poetry is can be a activity alone, and also I think it's both, somehow both individual and social, right? So it's that you're writing for yourself. You write it yourself most of the time, but then you're sharing it with others. But there are also some poems where you like just write it directly to people. And then there are also some poems where I guess they're written together, like with friends in a group. But in the end, it's still you're writing the poem, even if but maybe someone else is writing like a similar poem and it's like a game, right? So yeah, I think it's kind of different from how we would think of poetry now, where it's more like this is art and like I am the sole genius who is creating this. So yeah, it's certainly, yeah, pretty interesting. But I guess in like other kinds of self-expression, it's always a kind of You want people to understand you. Yeah. Maybe it's like a cry for help. It's like, oh, I'm so lonely. Uh, I'll write it down in this poem so my friends will know. Yeah. That is very interesting though. Just how much loneliness is expressed in these poems. Like loneliness and like lack of appreciation, lack of recognition, right? Especially all those poems where they're like their career doesn't go well and they say, oh, I no one appreciates my talents. But ironically, it's in writing that poem that people centuries later appreciate their writing abilities, right? So yeah, I guess there is that element of like just social connection in this, in like poetry as a practice, right? Poetry writing as an act. Yeah. So that's very interesting observation. Wow. Hmm. Okay, and you agree. Hmm. Okay. I think you agree that you would rather fly alone than get shot. I see. Okay. Well, then let's move on to the famous critics. I wonder what they say. Hmm. Well, I'm not sure if there's anything. Okay. This person thinks that it is uh poet sort of feeling lonely, which is why he's sort of projecting it onto the goose, right? So I do agree with that, but I find that that makes it kind of hard to understand the last part about not getting shot. So is he like worried about his own life? Like, is this some like political thing? Hmm. But maybe if we can just go back to, so I think that's all I got from these comments, but I wonder how we will read this if we see it as a projection of himself, like his own feelings. So he feels like he's sort of deviated from the group, right? And then just feels very alone and vulnerable and in a dangerous world. Yeah. Hmm. So now it's not so much loneliness as like just fear in general. Hmm. I wish there was more context about his life because like if it was some political thing, then maybe he is in fear of like, I don't know, some either execution by the emperor or something. But here it just says, oh, he travels a lot and then he's very sad. Right? This is just a fancy way of saying like, oh, he's sad. Yeah. Well, okay. Interesting. Maybe let's go on to the next one then. Uh, so we're doing pretty good on time too, about 10 minutes each poem. All right, so 杜荀鹤，春宫怨，早被婵娟误，日妆临镜啊、慵承恩不再貌，教妾若为荣。风暖鸟声脆，日高花影重。年年月溪女，相忆采芙蓉。Uh, oh, a sigh in the spring palace. Might have missed that. Okay. So, knowing beauty my misfortune, I face my mirror with a sigh. To please a fastidious emperor, how shall I array myself? Birds flock and sing when the wind is warm. Flower shadows climb when the sun is high. And year after year, girls in the south are picking hibiscus, dreaming of love. Mm. So this is he's writing from the perspective of a uh girl in the palace, right? So this is another classic genre. Not sure why these guys like this so much, but it's been done a lot. And wow, apparently a lot of people like this poem. So let's see, read it more closely. I don't think context is super important here, but let's see if okay, it's not even in this part. Yeah, not even in this page. So let's see. So knowing beauty my misfortune. Hmm. Okay, I face my mirror with a sigh. To please the fastidious emperor, how shall I array myself? Uh, okay, so she has to look good for the emperor. Okay. Birds flock and sing when the wind is warm. Flower shadows climb when the sun is high. And year after year, girls in the south are picking hibiscus, dreaming of love. Oh, that's really interesting. I feel like she's saying, like, she's in this, like, she was chosen to be in the palace because she's very pretty, right? She's very good looking, and then, but she considers it almost like a bad thing because she has to, like, just like with so many other women try to get the attention of the emperor. And I think this is contrasted like when you it's like split down the middle, right? And then the second half is like, well, just outside. Um, she starts thinking about outside and then the freedom, like the birds and just all these things she doesn't get to see. And every year, even these like simple girls, uh, not in the capital or anything, right? They can, pick these flowers and then dream of love. I think she is kind of jealous of them and a bit resentful that she can't have like a normal just have a normal love as opposed to this like insane polygamous uh just like 1 to 100 kind of dynamic. Yeah. uh, like one man 100 women, like that's weird. That's super imbalanced, right? Yeah. So I do think I think she is very she sounds very resentful here. But I also can't tell if this is like a it also feels like something you say when you are annoyed at the moment. Maybe the first half feels more like, well, actually, no, I do think this is more of a real, like, there is real resentment here, at least just this last part, or there's a real, like, regret that she cannot be outside as well. That's what I'm reading. Mm. Let's look at the famous comments. Yeah. Uh, mm, yeah, and you said like maybe she doesn't love the emperor, but she needs things from him. Yeah, I think I mean, if the guy has like 100 wives, you barely see him. It's gonna be very hard to love him for real. So yeah, I think it's really sad. The situation that these women are in. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the famous critics. Mm, these people are just like burning him. He's like, usually his poems suck, but only this one is good. But this one is like it's like the best among the Tang poems, I guess. Well, yeah, so they say like usually his poems are very uh lowbrow, I guess. Yeah. But mm, and they really like the couplet 风暖鸟声脆，日高花影重. So lines 5 and 6. Birds flock and sing when the wind is warm. Flower shadows climb when the sun is high. Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Mm, yeah, wow, that's great. Yeah, they keep pointing out the same line, same 2 lines here. Oh, right. Okay, this is more of a detailed read. But not much about the actual emotions going on. Yeah. Well, or maybe these people just they can't really criticize the system because in their time there was still an emperor with like 100 wives. So yeah. But hmm. Are you okay? You say yeah, I think you are correct about the resentment. So yeah, I would think so, right? Yeah. Thanks. I really do think. Oh, you asked if I can read poems in Korean. You mean these poems? I don't know enough. I don't know enough Korean to really. I know like this like nyon nyon nyo il. I can recognize like maybe like a third of these, but I can't just read this if the in the Korean pronunciations are. Yeah. I want to though. Like I mean classical Chinese you can read it in Korean pretty easily, I think. Because each character has like a very specific corresponding reading. And I've been looking for a good textbook of classical Chinese with the Korean pronunciations, but it's just really tough. I think uh, I have to go to Korea and dig around a bit and get my Korean, improve my Korean to be able to understand it. And maybe, I don't know, I think if I could figure out some good, if I get better at coding, I could just get a database and then just look up each of these, automatically look up each of the characters and put the Hanja readings. Yeah. You say you're interested. Yeah. I think it's super okay, kind of a tangent, but I think it's quite a shame because most schools, when they teach classical Chinese, most Western schools, they require like a few years of Mandarin. But strictly speaking, like you don't actually, I mean, you can read the characters with any type of pronunciation, right? I mean, most people or many people, many Chinese people before like the 20th century, they didn't speak Mandarin. They still learned the same text, but they just read it in like the own readings of their specific dialect. So the characters themselves carry the meaning, and the sounds are sort of secondary to that. And actually, Korean preserves some sounds that were lost in uh, current Mandarin. So in some sense, it is actually a bit more accurate to the Tang Dynasty, the way it was written as opposed to how it's read now. Yeah, so it's a work in progress. I do hope uh yeah, it would be very cool to read this in Korean someday in the future. So I don't know, maybe if I have more time, if I can get enough Patreon supporters to fund me so I can put more time into this. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah. Oh, where were we at? Oh yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this poem, right? But yeah, maybe I should do more live streams just talking about languages and stuff. I think, I don't know, I'm a bit uncomfortable where it's just me, because then, like, what if I'm not entertaining? But I feel like there are a lot of interesting things we could talk about. Yeah. Okay, this next one by Wei Zhuang. Okay, Wei Zhuang. 章台夜思, A Night Thought on Terrace Tower. 青色任摇曳，环旋风雨哀。孤灯闻楚角，残月下章台。芳草已云暮，故人书未来。乡书不可寄，秋雁又难回。Far through the night, a harp is sighing, with a sadness of wind and rain in the strings. There's a solitary lantern, a bugle call, and beyond terrace tower, down goes the moon. Fragrant grasses have changed and faded, while still I have been hoping that my old friend would come. There are no more messengers I can send him, now that the wild geese have turned south. What's going on here? Who's this old friend? Feels like something is happening. Like, what's the context? Apparently, this says that it is a poem about missing home while he's abroad. Hmm. Interesting. Let's just read through it again then. Not much useful context in the page. So far through the night, our harp is sighing, with a sadness of wind and rain in the strings. Okay, so obviously this guy is not happy, right? Okay, there's a solitary lantern, a bugle call, and beyond terrace tower, down goes the moon. Okay, I wonder where exactly terrace tower is. Is he in the capital or? It doesn't say. Then fragrant grasses have changed and faded, while still I have been hoping that my old friend would come. There are no more. Nah, this is kind of a bad translation. Yeah, there are no more messengers that I can send now that the wild geese have turned south. Let me retranslate this part. Yeah. Okay, so fragrant grasses have changed and faded. That's fine. I think it should be something else. Okay, no. So it is like, it means even. So uh the my friend did not even come, did not even show up. Okay, and then the letters from home cannot be sent. And this autumn geese or the wild geese have turned south again. Okay, so I guess it is just here. I don't know. I feel like this xiang shu, it does lead me towards reading it as like a letters to his village, like his family, as opposed to just like to his friend. So, right, because usually 相书, you see, this is like 家书家信. So this is more of a familial thing than like to a friend. And 故人 here could mean, yeah, it could mean like family and close friends. So I think what's going on, this is more, I think it's more than just old friends. It would be like family as well. That's also included. So I guess he was hoping that his loved ones would come visit him at this foreign place, but just nobody came, and he can't even send them his letters because it's not the right season of the year. Wow, that's really sad. Damn. Hmm. Yeah, wow. Damn. Can you imagine a world? I mean, okay, I'm sure you can imagine, but I think a world before like instant messaging or telephones and all that. Wow. Really, I really difficult. I think we are very blessed to have uh be able to connect with people so easily. Yeah. So okay, maybe let's look at some famous critics. 中人 okay, let's see. Nothing very useful here actually. The problem with these critics is like sometimes I feel, I don't know, they're just putting in a lot of effort to praise the poem, but just not much substance, almost. Yeah. Like this, I'm pretty sure this is overreading. It's like, oh, the this harp has like 25 strings, and then like each string being strummed just makes you feel more lonely. It's like wow, that's very poetic in itself, but that's not in the poem, right? Yeah, so I don't see anything I can take out of this, but yeah, so because I really like this. Well, it's not the best poem. I don't think it's the best poem we've even read today, but it is poor guy. Yeah, poor guy. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so now we're reaching the final poem of the 5-character regular verse. Yeah. And you'll say, yeah, but even though there's no Korean, Chinese is good and you're really enjoying it. So, and yeah, just saying how crazy it was without phones, right? Yeah, and thanks so much for coming. It's very nice to have someone like uh just in the call, in the live chat, so I don't feel like I'm alone. And yeah, and your comments are, it's always nice to like read the poem together, right? And try to figure it out. Yeah. So I do appreciate it a lot too. Okay, so maybe we can look at this one. This song 皎然, not finding Lu Hong Jian. Is it? Or Xian? I'll say 卢鸿渐吧，卢鸿渐不遇，寻路 sorry, 驯鹿 my brain's not working, sorry. 驯鹿鸿渐不日 OK. 宜家虽带锅，也经入桑麻。尽种离边植，秋来着为竹花。叩门无犬吠，日去问西门。报到山中去，归来每日斜。To find you, move beyond the city. A white path led me by mulberry and hemp to a new set hedge of chrysanthemums. Not yet blooming, although autumn had come. I knocked. No answer, not even a dog. I waited to ask your western neighbor, but he told me that daily you climbed the mountain, never returning until sunset. So this guy, this Seng Jiao Ren, I think he's a monk. And the first character is monk, right? Seng. So I think he's like Jiao Ren the monk. That might actually be his. But let me just check. Yeah, okay, he is just a monk, right? Is a Oh, he's descended from Xie Lingyun. That's crazy. Just another famous author. Yeah. From 10 generations. Wait, no? What? Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he's descended from Xie Lingyun. That makes sense. So it's Nan Chao, the Song of the southern dynasties. So not the Song dynasty that comes after the Tang. Okay. So his friend, right, this Lu Hongjian is Lu Yu, so it's just his good friend. Never got an official job, a job as an official, and this Lu Yu guy, and he just lives in seclusion. Okay, so this after he actually moved, which is why he went over to visit this Jiaoran, but he was unable to find him. Interesting. Okay. So to find you, move beyond the city. A white path led me by mulberry and hemp to a new set hedge of chrysanthemums, not yet blooming, although autumn had come. I knocked, no answer, not even a dog. I waited to ask your western neighbor. But he told me that daily you climbed the mountain, never returning until sunset. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. What's there to say about this? Yeah, this seems like a very classic. This is like the fourth poem I've read, where it's like, oh, I went to visit someone and he wasn't there. It's because the person isn't there, so they're very bored. That's why they write these poems. That makes sense to me. Okay. Because if the person was there, they would just talk, right? They wouldn't be writing poems about a successful house visit, I guess. That makes sense. Okay. Looking at famous critics. This is a very strange comment here, which is like, I think he's kind of reading a more spiritual message in this poem. Let's see. I didn't really notice it though, the first two times. The first, like reading it previously. To find you, move beyond the city. A white path led me by mulberry and hemp to a new set hedge of chrysanthemums, not yet blooming, although autumn had come. I knocked, no answer, not even a dog. I waited to ask your western neighbor, but he told me that daily you climb the mountain, never returning until sunset. I'm not sure I see it. I don't see any particularly Buddhist or Taoist ways to read this. Yeah, maybe it's just, and he's the only one who really said it, so yeah, I don't really see it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, it's Jose. You see, maybe it's a complaint. Hey, nice to see you, Jose. It's been a while. Yeah, maybe it's a complaint. Interesting. Yeah, that's possible. Hmm. It's like maybe he writes this poem and he just like sticks it on the door and then he leaves. Yeah. I guess it is hard, right, to coordinate. It's like what we were saying just now. Just if you don't have phones, you can't tell someone you're coming. And it's like you have to just show up and hope it works. Mm. But at least this, like if he could stay till sunset, it could work. He could spend time with his friend. Yeah. Huh. I don't know, isn't it? Yeah. I actually don't like because it is from a monk. I was expecting more of a like a deeper meaning in this poem, but it's just yeah. Where is it? Yeah, like if it's a Buddhist thing, it would be about how things are transient, right? Or sort of insubstantial, which I'm not reading here. Or if it's more of a Taoist inspired take, it would be about maybe the transformation of things. But I don't really see that here as well. It just seems like a like a very simple complaint, I guess. Yeah. A very simple like I came and you weren't here. Hmm. Yeah. Strange. I'm not very sure why this is a good poem, actually. Enough that all these people are commented on it. It's very plain and very true to life. The poem, yeah. Hmm. I guess it does capture the scene well. Yeah, so I think that's one of its strengths. It's like there's no need to analyze because it's literally like it's exactly what it is. It's just showing you the situation, right? Yeah. So maybe it's better to think of this as like a cute poem, just uh like a cute little story in his life. Yeah. I think that could work. Okay, then maybe let's move on to the next one. Oh, you see, unless the Western and the dog are meant to be something else. Okay, let's take one last look here. Yeah, I don't know. Western, the only thing I could think of is like the Western, because uh, there was in the chat they mentioned like the Lotus Sutra earlier, right? And it could be like the Western. It's like the Western. What's that called? Shukarna Bhumi. Suvarna Bhumi is like the Western paradise where like there's this other Buddha, and then you're supposed to the Pure Land, yeah, the Pure Land, where you reincarnate there, and it's supposed to be in the West, but then it wouldn't make sense that I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense to me, like asking a Western neighbor what that might mean. Whereas the dog, Yeah, I think symbolically, I can only just think of dogs as loyal. I don't see any specific significance to it though. So yeah. Okay, I think I really do think it's just a cute poem then. Yeah. I wish it was a more spiritual poem. Like I always like those more philosophical ones. But I guess if every poem is philosophical, it would be a very painful 300 like painful read. Yeah. Like to have 300 of those. Oh, okay. So this next one is actually uh we're moving to a new genre. So why don't we look a bit at it? Okay, so you see each line has 7 characters, and then we have again 8 lines. So 56 characters total. And yeah, I think these 7 character regular verse is quite interesting because I think the rhythms can be more varied, just like within each line. Like sometimes you could be like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, or it could be like 4 3 or something. So I think it would be quite fun to see this. And with more characters, they can say more, but I suspect uh it's but I don't think it'll be significantly more content or yeah. And these are the rhyme patterns. There are a few rhyme patterns here. Because this is quite a form with quite a lot of rules. That's why it's called regulated verse or regular verse, just because there's has pretty strict rules on what words can go where. Yeah, just basically the ping is like the uh what's that called? The level tone. Nowadays that's like the first or second tone, and then 仄 is all the other tones. So nowadays that's the third or fourth tone, roughly speaking. Yeah, but in Middle Chinese, ping would be the first tone, and 仄 would be the second, third, and fourth tone. Yeah, we don't need to worry about that lah. So I think, and this is a very famous poem as well. So yeah, shall we start? Okay, so the Yellow Crane Terrace, 黄鹤楼，昔人已乘黄鹤去，此地空余黄鹤楼。黄鹤一去不复还。白云千载空悠悠，晴川历历汉阳树，芳草萋萋鹦鹉洲。日暮乡关何处是？烟波江上使人愁。Where long ago a yellow crane bore a sage to heaven, nothing is left now but the yellow crane terrace. The yellow crane never revisited earth, and white clouds are flying without him forever. Every tree in Hanyang becomes clear in the water, and Parrot Island is a nest of sweet grasses. But I look toward home, and twilight grows dark, with a mist of grief on the river waves. So, yeah, I read this before, but now I feel very puzzled. I forgot what it's about. Okay, so first, why don't we start with this famous Huang He Lou? It's in so many poems. It's just a very famous building in that time. And yeah, the Yellow Crane Terrace. And the legend is that an immortal called Zi'an, he rode a yellow crane there, and some said that he departed from there. So this is why the poet, when he climbed Huang He Lou, Huang He Terrace, Huang He Tower, he sort of saw the scenery and he sort of was inspired to make this. Okay. Yeah, this is wow, see, very famous. Everyone's writing about it. So let's take a closer look. Where long ago, a yellow crane bore a sage to terrace, to heaven. Nothing is left now but the yellow crane terrace. The yellow crane never revisited Earth, and white clouds are flying without him forever. Now, the first thing that strikes me is like just how much he's repeating the words yellow crane. It's like, yeah. Like I get it. Like it's the yellow crane terrace. The guy rides the yellow crane. And now you have yellow crane terrace. And then that yellow crane has gone. It's reminds me of one of those Batman comics. Have you seen those where like it's meant to teach kids like new words, and then it's just like the Batman just keeps like repeating the same word again and again, and it's like super super stilted and awkward. Yeah. But that's yeah, kind of the vibe I'm getting. I mean, not really, it's a different vibe, but I wonder why he's repeating it so much. Yeah. And then the next part, every tree in Hanyang becomes clear in the water, and Parrot Island is a nest of sweet grasses. But I look toward home, and twilight grows dark. With a mist of grief on the river waves. Well, first, what's Parrot Island? Okay. So it's just okay, it's just something. There's literally a island nearby. That's just Parrot Island. And Hanyang is just west of Huanghe, a yellow crane terrace. Okay. Hmm. Okay, here's my tentative interpretation. So I think this last part, presumably the person who rode the crane to heaven lives in heaven, right? So he has the yellow crane so he can fly home. But now uh he's looking towards home and he doesn't have the ability to go just like that. And so that's why he's kind of like uh he just feels sad or like the story makes him uh a bit wistful about home. That's interesting. Hmm. I think so. I think that's what the Wikipedia suggests as well. Hmm. Somehow this isn't working for me very well though. Do you guys like this poem? Hmm. You see, there's a crane and a place called Parrot Island. Oh, that's a good point. Right? Because the first half is all about the yellow crane, and then the second half is Parrot Island. Hmm. Does he wish he can fly? Is that the idea? Like, yeah, just he ties it back to like the emotional core of this is seems like it's supposed to be about missing home, right? Because it's not so much about the awe that's inspired by what he sees. So, hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm just having trouble placing like what the emotional core of this is. It's just very strange that just the when he starts talking about home at the end. Yeah. So, but I guess this could be a homesickness poem. Hmm. Looking at these famous critics, if there's anything useful. Hmm. I think it's always hard when you move to a new genre. So, like, I think I need a few poems for me to really get used to how they work as well. But yeah, but apparently we're reading the very best poem of this type right from the start. So, hmm. Yeah, this is right. It says he mentions the yellow crane 3 times, but the reader does not dislike its repetition and do not find it annoying. And yeah, why is that though? I don't know why it doesn't really explain why it's used 3 times. Hmm. Interesting. Wow. Damn, I feel very under-equipped to understand this, but I'm just not that impressed, actually. Huh. Okay, you say you think so. It's certainly about distance. Like the homesickness, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Just yeah. I feel like moving on. I'm not really getting much out of this. It's a shame. I had pretty high expectations for this poem, but it's not really working for me. Like I don't see where I'm just not feeling anything from it. Yeah. So let's see. Let's try the next poem then. Okay, by Cui Hao again. Passing through 黄阴, 行经黄阴. This 汉志平，借问路旁名利客，吾如此处学长生。Lords of the capital, sharp, unearthly. The great flower's 3 points pierce through heaven. Clouds are drifting apart. Clouds are parting above the temple of the warring emperor. Rain dries on the mountain, on the giant's palm. Ranges and rivers are the strength of this western gate, whence roads and trails lead downward into China. O pilgrim of fame, O seeker of profit, why not remain here and lengthen your days? Hmm. Okay, so he's visiting. Okay, so he's visiting this mountain, Huashan, and there are 3 peaks. And that's the scenery sort of inspired him to write this. Hmm. Okay, so okay, this should be 长生. So why not remain here and lengthen your days? So apparently there are a lot of Taoist uh priests here, and so he's saying that so that's part of why this mountain is so significant to him. Hmm. Let's read through this again. Okay. Lords of the capital, sharp, unearthly. The great flowers, 3 points pierce through heaven. So the great flower is just Huashan. So because Hua can also be Hua, can also be China. Sorry, can also be flower. I mean, now it's also like the people of the Chinese people, right? But it can be Hua is like Chinese, and then Hua is flower. So this are the three peaks of the Hua mountain. And then I guess on top there is the temple of the warring emperor. That's a strange translation. Uh yeah, it's a sacrificial temple by Han Wudi. So it's not really a warring emperor. I mean, he calls himself Wudi, yeah. So Wu is just, it is martial military, but it's just literally the sacrificial temple of Wu, Emperor Wu, right? And there's a clouds part there, and the rain dries on the mountain on the giant's palm. I guess that's another. There's one of the peaks. The name of one of the peaks. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so these first four lines, he really is just describing the scenery that he sees. Okay. And ranges and rivers are the strength of this western gate. I think, is this a western gate because it kind of a place that people pass through for yeah, I guess so. Let's just go with that for now. Whence roads and trails lead downward into China. Right, right. Okay, so yeah, this is the gate, the Guan, right? The mountain pass where the sort of the central plains are. Then, O pilgrim of fame, O seeker of profit. So if you are heading into through this mountain pass into, I guess, the more central areas, then why not remain here and lengthen your days? So yeah, this place is so great. Why don't you just stay here and learn from the priests, the Taoist priests, instead of going into the big city? Oh, that's pretty funny actually. I like that. Yeah. Okay, now this makes sense to me. I say maybe living in the mountain will lengthen your days and increase your health. I think that's probably true, right? Like healthy lifestyle, good air. And I think just Taoist, a lot of Taoist, religious Taoism is about trying to be immortal. So philosophical Taoism is about living with your mortality, like accepting that, right? But strangely, religious Taoism is like, no, I reject my humanity, like I want to live forever. Yeah, uh, so yeah, maybe that is. So I think part of that or at least that's what Chinese Wikipedia thinks he's alluding to. So just maybe living in the mountain, maybe learning from the priest. Yeah. So yeah, so 道教. This is religious Taoism. Yeah. Mm. I think it's quite funny, the final part where he says, just don't go into the city, just chill here. Yeah. So let's look at the famous critics. I think now I finally have a grasp of this. So this poem, hopefully there's more stuff here that I missed. So this just says the first four is about the site, and then the first, like, yeah, like the actual scenery, and then the next four are like his thoughts about it. So yeah, that's a pretty neat division. Seems like many of the 8-line poems we've read are split right down the middle. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that looks like that's mostly it for this poem. Hmm. I think that's pretty good. Uh, yeah. Then maybe we can move on to the next one. Uh, so here, by Zhu Yong, looking toward an inner gate of the Great Wall. So Wang Ji Men, second last poem of the day, by the way. So this is by, so we moved on to a different author. Okay, and yeah, I guess he only has just one poem within this genre. And do you feel like these 7-character poems, just the subject matter is a bit different? Like, or the vibe is just a bit different from the other ones, right? The 5-character ones. Okay, I guess I'll be able to be more precise about the difference the more we read it. Yeah. So Zhu Yong, looking toward an inner gate of the Great Wall, 望蓟门，砚台一去刻心经，箫鼓喧喧汉将营。万里寒光生积雪，三边曙色动微惊。沙场烽火清湖月，海半云山拥蓟城。少小虽非投笔吏，论功还欲请长缨。My heart sank when I headed north from Yan country to the camps of China, echoing with bugle and drum. In an endless cold light of massive snow, tall flags on 3 borders rise up like a dawn. War torches invade the barbarian moonlight. Mountain clouds, like chairmen, bear the great wall from the sea. Though no youthful clerk meant to be a great general, I throw aside my writing brush like the student who tossed off cap for a lariat. I challenge what might come. What's a lariat? Oh, a lasso? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, is this why you asked if I could read it in Korean? Because I have this plugin that gives all the Korean definitions. Like snow should be nun, right? Nun. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, right, sorry, got distracted. So back to the poem. What's the context of this? It's a bit strange to me. Um, okay, so I guess so Fanyang, which is the place where the Zhu Yong, the author is, the poet is, at Fanyang is actually a military center, right? And it commands the 16 prefectures, maybe 16 zhou, and yeah. So just a lot of military buildup in this area. So that's why that's what sort of like, that's the setting for this. So, all right, that makes more sense to me then. So then my heart sank when I headed north from Yan country to the camps of China, echoing with bugle and drum. In an endless cold light of massive snow, tall flags on 3 borders rise up like a dawn. Wait, why are there so many lines in the English? There's only 8 lines in the Chinese, right? Okay. All right, so the first 4 lines do correspond to here. So let's keep going. War torches invade the barbarian moonlight. Mountain clouds like chairmen bear the great wall from the sea. What does it mean? I think supports. I guess chairman is like people holding like the chair, right? Because this is bearing the great wall. Okay. And then though no youthful clerk meant to be a great general. I don't understand. Then how does this become 3 lines? So I think this is he wants to be to serve in the army. I think that's what it's saying. Sure. So he isn't like someone who sort of resolved to become a general, but then he does want to. I think this is a symbol of like uh of serving in the army. This Changying. Let's see what this is. Okay, so it's a symbol for commanding a military troops. Okay, so he also wants to serve. He also wants to be a general, I guess. Some sort of commander. That's interesting. Oh. Don't you think this is such a strange, the topic is so different from the previous genre. I'm a bit confused. Or not confused, just like whiplash from like changing how I'm approaching these poems. So you said so you said no, that isn't why you asked about Korean. Okay. It says so students throw off their cap after graduation. Maybe he wants to give off writing and see where it takes him, even if it's dangerous. That's quite possible. It says could be maybe he wants to try fighting as a soldier. Right. I think so. Then that makes sense. Like, so if this poem is about his desire to be a soldier, and that's why the first 4 lines he's really like sort of hyping up the grandeur, the splendor of this military camp, right? And there's like, wow, I'm so inspired. I want to, I want to join. I want to fight, right? I think because this is very different from the border poems that we read before, or at least I've read before in this collection, where it's sort of lamenting the loss of life, even if it says, because usually those are like people who are not fighting, they're like visiting, and then they lament the loss of life, even if they acknowledge that the war must be fought. But here is a very different vibe. It's like it's like an army recruitment video, that kind of vibe. It's like just yeah, like it feels very different, right? It's like I want to join. So that's very interesting. So he says he's gonna throw aside his writing brush. That's why we only have one poem from him. Interesting. Hmm. Right. So this is he has the desire to serve his country by being a soldier. That's very interesting. A lot of comments here as well. Hmm. Oh, this guy doesn't like the poem at all, actually. It says it does not, so this type of poems does not approach the reason or the 事理, how do you translate that? The way things work, I guess. It does not touch on that at all, but it simply succeeds with kind of like bombast, maybe. Just very loud or strong words. Yeah. So this guy doesn't like this He Jing, doesn't like this poem at all. I think it's He, yeah. Interesting. But this person then he says, yeah, the words are really good. They are very powerful. So yeah. I do think emotionally it's kind of lacking. I don't know. Like at least these few poems just weren't connecting with me the way the previous ones were. Hmm. Okay. I think that's kind of it for this poem. I don't see anything very useful. Anything else that's useful here. So maybe we just go on to this final one by Li Qi, A Farewell to Wei Wan. So this is it. Okay, so this kind of a farewell poem, that's something that we've read before. So I feel this would be more telling of the differences between the different genres because it's like the same topic. So let's see if it's just kind of treated a different way. Yeah. So all right. So A Farewell to Wei Wan, 送魏万之京. Maybe just a quick tangent. This 之 can mean a lot of things. It can mean off, but it can also means go. So this means like, so I'm sending Wei Wan as he goes to the capital. Yeah. Just if you're learning classical Chinese, this 之 can be a bit trippy. Yeah. Yeah. So good to know. Okay. So 朝闻游子唱离歌，昨夜微霜初渡河。鸿雁不堪愁里听，云山旷世客中过。关城树色催寒尽，日渊 真霜向晚多，莫见长安行乐处。空令岁月易蹉跎。The traveler's parting song sounds in the dawn. Last night a first frost came over the river, and the crying of the wild geese breathes my sad heart. Bounded by a gloom of cloudy mountains, here in the gate city, day will flush cold, and washing flails quickened by the gardens at twilight. How long shall the capital content you, where the months and the years so vainly go by? He sounds so bitter. Okay, let's look at the context again. And okay, so he's sending Wei Wan, who's apparently a good friend of Li Bai, the most famous Chinese poet ever. So that's interesting. But this poem is not by Wei Wan. This is sending off Wei Wan, right? So this poem is by Li Qi. And Li Qi is a generation older than this Wei Wan. But they're very close friends as well. Okay, interesting. So he's sending this to his good friend who's younger than him, but they're very close. Okay, so just one comment from you about the difference between the genres. So maybe there's a shift in culture and thus a shift in styles and subject matter of poetry, right? So actually, I think I wasn't very clear about this, but the different genres, right? These are not separated by, it's not like by time period. So I think throughout these poems is like, or there are people writing, or how do I say this? It's like these genres all coexisted at the same time. And so yeah, they all coexisted at the same time, and like different poets usually wrote in different genres, right? But then I guess certainly some genres might be more popular in different times. So maybe that's what you mean. Yeah. I think it is very strange though. Like sometimes different genres, it just has a different type of topic. Maybe it's sort of like in music where you always associate certain like chords with, or certain like instruments with a certain sound, right? And that's why you sort of just whenever you write this kind of song that you want this sort of feeling, then you just bring in that instrument. It's like for example, the James Bond theme uses this very like this, I think it's like some beach guitar or some strange instrument that gives it that very distinctive sound that is so like now every spy movie uses that instrument, even though it's not a particularly like there's nothing connecting that instrument to spies. It's just James Bond was so influential, and then that instrument was popular when the James Bond theme was written, and then because of that, it just became a thing. Yeah, so I saw this in the video on YouTube. So it might be completely wrong, but I think it was a Vox video, so it's a pretty decent video. Yeah. But yeah, it does seem like different genres have different characters in terms of like the subject matter and the way they approach things. Yeah, but can't quite put my finger on why or how. And here's another theory, which is that just if you have 7 characters per line, you can just talk about maybe more specific things. Whereas if you only have 5 characters per line, you need to talk about things that are more universal, that everyone can just relate to and do not really require much explanation. And maybe that's why I don't like these 7-character verses quite as much. They just feel like unrelatable. But I don't know. Let's look more closely at this one. Yeah. Yeah. I say, oh yeah, so they are all from the Tang Dynasty. Yeah, that's right. So these are the 300 Tang poems. So but throughout the Tang Dynasty it's also pretty long. So even within that, there are certainly different periods. So if you look at the Wikipedia, they'll be like, oh, the start of the Tang, then the mid Tang, and the late Tang. So there is a shift even within that, but these are all from the Tang Dynasty. Yeah. Yeah. And after we finish, I was thinking of reading the Song poems, but there isn't a good way to read it because it's not on this website. So yeah, I'll decide lah once we're done. Okay, so let's come back to this poem for a bit. So let's start from the start then. All right, the traveler's parting song sounds in the dawn. Last night, a first frost came over the river, and the crying of wild geese grieves my sad heart, bounded by a gloom of cloudy mountains. Oh wow, this is really good, right? It's like I feel like he tells you exactly what the thing is, like what's bothering him, right? So it's like by saying, the traveler's parting song sounds in the dawn. It's like he does set the scene on like what is the core of the poem. It's about this farewell. I mean, obviously it's in the title, but I think it's good that he sort of shows it in the first line as well. And everything sort of is in relation to this theme, right? Then last night a first frost came over the river, and the crying of the wild geese grieves my sad heart. Right? Like I think this makes sense. Because if you don't have the first line, you're like, if you just started from this, last night a first frost came over the river, and the crying of the wild geese grieves my sad heart. So you wouldn't really know why he's sad. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the reveal later, but that's pretty cool that he put it at the start here. Yeah. All right, the next, so bound by a gloom of cloudy mountains. Okay. Then here in the gate city, day will flush cold, and washing flails quicken by the gardens at twilight. So the washing flails are just like, I think they wash the clothes and they have to like hit it with some stick. Right. Then how long shall the capital content you, where the months and the years so vainly go by? I wonder what these two lines are doing though. What's the point of this? Like, I guess this, huh, I guess there's, I guess one interpretation would be that the place where they're at now is sort of more like normal, kind of like just like very day-to-day things like, washing the clothes and stuff. Whereas the capital is more exciting. But at the same time, it's like, how long will this excitement last? And when will you come back to us in this uh maybe more boring, but more boring place? So I guess I do see a kind of contrast between the this couplet, this 5 and 6, and line 7 and 8. Yeah. I think that's how I make sense of like just why he's bringing in this like people washing clothes. Yeah. Because I mean, he has so little characters to work with. Like, why bring in some random thing, right? So it does make sense to me that like it has to be doing some work, and that's my hypothesis. Yeah, yeah. Maybe here. Let's look at the famous critics for this. Hmm. He says, I don't know how many turns are in this poem, or just, which seems to imply there's a lot of like twists going on. Actually, I do think, wow, I feel like there is more to talk about there, actually. Hmm. Hmm. I think there's another reading of the last two lines. So from the Wikipedia, which says that, so I'm gonna literally translate this, right? So don't look at the um entertainment places in the capital and then emptily waste the time. So yeah. So just don't enjoy yourself so much that um you sort of waste your time there, and yeah, and let everything, the time just go by. So I think that becomes very interesting because on the one hand, you remember that the poet is a lot older, is quite a bit older than his friend, right? So this is almost like good brotherly or like fatherly advice. But I think there's also this dimension of if you waste your time there, then like there's more time that I have to spend apart from you. So yeah, wow, that's really good, right? It's like both good advice, but also shows how much he misses his friend. Wow, that's really good. Mm, mm. Right. So there is a contrast there. So with that reading, there still is a contrast between like the more boring place that they're at and the more exciting capital. Right. So then this reading still works. And yeah, okay. I think that's the interpretation that I'm more happy with. It's like uh just I mean, okay, first four lines he's sad, right? And then five and six, um, you know, this place is kind of more normal, is not as exciting. And the capital, then seven and eight, the capital is very exciting, but don't let it distract you from the important things. And yeah, and the important things kind of includes like your loved ones, right? That, yeah, your friends. Wow, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I think this is like, this feels like advice that your dad will give you when you go to college. Yeah, don't have too much fun. Yeah. Wow, this is really good. This is really good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. Um, we really took the time to read this a bit more closely because I think I would have totally missed the last part if not for uh yeah, just try spending more time on this. Okay, so that's actually it for today, all the poems. Oh, you see the contrast is very interesting. That's true. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I still don't have a good handle on these 7 character poems. Like it's taking a lot more effort for me to understand each one. I guess that means the streams will have to be quite a bit longer if we're doing 10 poems every day. But it's okay, just 5 more days, right? So just all the way to 223, and then that'll be it for the entire series. And yeah, just yeah, well, kind of curious. I really want to get a better handle of this and just yeah, kind of excited to finish the series and maybe we can start the next one. Not so soon. I'll go for a holiday, but yeah, all these other interesting things we could read in the future. So yeah, um, I guess so as usual, thanks for coming. And yeah, it's always good to have people to hear your comments. And yeah, I hope I can see you all tomorrow at the same timer. So I guess 9 a.m. Singapore time. Yeah, so thanks so much for this. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye bye.